Marky,
Hello.
what are you doing? Dave Lawrence, Hawaii Public Radio.
Hello there. I'm calling you. I'm in the midst of a heavy hurricane here in Brooklyn, New York, in Brooklyn Heights. And I'm just watching TV. What are you up to?
I'm stoked that you're calling. I can't believe at this hour on a Friday night I got you on the line, but
Oh, yeah.
stranger things have happened, I'm sure.
Not unusual.
Nah, it's super cool. We got a great connection, too.
I hear you good.
I really appreciate it. We're recording this. This is for All Things Considered. You ever hear that NPR show?
Of course.
All right. So
Definitely.
you know that. We're doing it here in statewide in Hawaii. And
Oh, great.
it's Marky Ramone, Punkrock, Blitzkrieg, My Life as a Ramone. What an interesting book. A big aloha
Thank
and
you.
welcome, brother. I really do appreciate having you. Means a lot.
Thanks a lot. 5 years in the making.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lifetime in the making, really. I mean, it seems like...
That's I got to say that from now on.
It really is, dude. And I guess for me,
Nice.
when I look back at it, it all starts with us thanking your mom for getting you in front of the TV for the Beatles on Ed Sullivan.
Oh, yeah. That's where it all started. I stopped playing with my toys. As a child, I loved cartoons, and I felt they were very animated. And watching Ringo, to me, was like a cartoon. So a Max Fleischer cartoon or a Blue Ribbon Warner Brothers cartoon. And he really appealed to me, and that's what got me going. Ringo on the Ed Sullivan Show.
And even when you say your love of cartoons, aside from Kiss, I'd say the Ramones in so many ways are the best band to lend themselves for a cartoon. So you ended up in the right place.
Yeah, a lot of people looked at us as animated figures. I guess it's evident in the Simpsons and
Right.
some of the videos we made, and even on the album covers. Some people think we are definitely cartoon-like.
Yeah, your faces just lent themselves to being able to be
Thank you.
expressed that way. You're welcome, brother. And I guess my question relating to your mother would be, as your career progressed, there must have been more moments of great pride for her or other important moments that you got to share with her.
Well, she was very amazed at the time that I was on the radio, and she could hear me on a station here in New York called WLNE-WFM with Scott Muni.
Scotzo.
And he pushed the band pretty well. The first one I was in called Dust, and yeah, she was amazed at that and said, "I guess you're on the right track. You're on the radio." So I guess that's what it took. So I achieved that for her. And then, obviously the albums and, the other alkaloids and just things that go along with everything. She really, took it to heart.
I can imagine. Yeah, God bless her, and I think it's wonderful to be able to
Thank
share that stuff. When your mom encourages your career, I know what that's
Oh,
like.
yeah.
And my mom was, I lost her, but she was a big part of pushing me, and I think it's cool. When I read that, it got the book started in such a great way. And also another thing about it is, you mentioned Ringo, and just as an aside, because you are a drummer and I'm a drummer too, I would think since you love Keith's playing so much, you would really, Keith Moon's playing so much, as I read that was an influence, I would imagine that Ringo's son, Zach Starkey, would be a dude who's playing you like, because he really loved Keith Moon too.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people did. After Ringo, knowing that there was a solid, besides Hal Blaine, in America, there was a solid English drummer who knew where to drum fills properly and who seemed like he was having fun up there, So did Keith Moon, but he was obviously somebody with his own style, which in a lot of ways you really can't explain, which is one thing I admire. Because he was so unique, you couldn't siphon what he was doing. And till this day, I kind of got it. I got the idea when I did my second Dust album. But yeah, he was another influence for sure.
And then you got to sit at Bonham's Kit at the Fillmore. I mean, that's the guy right there for myself. And I just can't even imagine what that must have felt like to sit there.
Yeah, it was great. Mickey Waller from the Jeff Beck group, the first group who came over here to America, I played on his drums. What I was surprised about is that he had a cracked cymbal as if somebody took a bite out of it. And he was using a Premier foot pedal that was kind of made out of rubber or plastic, where the foot went, and it just felt very unusual. But that was his style. That's what he liked.
Did you actually get to play John's kit, or did you just sit there?
I just sat there. That was something. Charlie, the guy at the Fillmore, who I knew very well from high school, was a usher, and he was like a kind of a caretaker too. And he knew Alan Arkish from the director of Rock and Roll High School, and he used to just put me up on the second floor there. On the side, on the wall, on the top, was a small little balcony that about 4 or 5 people could fit. And there I was watching the groups. And then in the day, they would do sound checks. They would go back to the hotels like I do. I would do the same thing, go back, chill out, and then come back for the show. But I guess it depends on the individual. But, I started playing in all these bands' equipment. So it was pretty cool being a 14-year-old, and going, I was in the 9th grade, going summer vacation, then back to first grade in high school.
It's amazing, yeah, sitting behind Bonham's kit. But this is all before you even get into the Ramones. That's almost the difficult thing about this book, I might say, is because you have so many interesting stories before you get to the Ramones. You might run out of time with you doing a phoner, so I'm trying to jam them all in.
I got a lot of time.
Right.
I guess I could say time's on my side. I don't say that in a condescending way to anything or anybody. It's just that I'm very grateful and lucky to still be here,
God bless you, man. I understand.
Thank you.
And you're quite welcome. And one of the encounters, I guess, that I'm thinking of that made me say that is I'm wondering if during the Ramone years there was ever a celeb encounter like the time at the Salvation Club, I believe, where you met Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, and Buddy Miles together.
Yeah. Let's see, who else? I met a few British punk luminaries who I, I'm not really friends, but acquaintances with, They're pretty interesting.
Right.
Everything's, relative to time. So I met one guy, he's in the book, was a little condescending to me and John as we entered his dressing room. Well, him and his band's dressing room, and he made a remark about our U.S. pins and
Sting.
Stuff we like putting on our leather jackets.
Sting, the Police.
Yeah, the stuff we're known for with the United States pins and everything. And, it was a guy from the Police, and he made those remarks, and he mentioned a chain of a company that has a chain called Woolworths that sold basically 5 and 10 cent stuff. So he realized that, and then he applied his remark to the things we were wearing, and we just wanted them to feel at home. Or we, very, we wanted to make them feel good. They're in a different country, like I would if I went to theirs. But that was the remark he made, and we said, "Fuck you," and walked out. That was it. Excuse the language, but you don't. I mean, when a band comes here and I meet them, I really try to treat them good. Just like the guys when I go to England, my friends there, they want to take you out to eat. They want to do this. They want to do that. They want to take you shopping, and they want to show you the sights, go to the museums and the rock places that a lot of the rock people went to and supposedly still do. And so that was just happened 35 years ago. It's something water under the bridge now. He definitely created good music. And, more power to him,
Were Andy and Stuart any easier to deal with?
They were just there. They really didn't interact in any way.
Wow, that's interesting. And real quick on that other one, because I seriously don't think Sting tops Jimmy and Jim and Buddy. Do you have any recollection, anything in particular? I mean, because that's a memory very few people would have the privilege of getting to see Morrison and Hendrix sitting together.
Well, I was with a friend of mine called Velvet Turner, who is in the making of Electric Ladyland.
Exactly.
If anybody's interested in checking that out, it's great. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. So I checked it out, and me and Velvet go way back, and he invited me one day in the late 60s, 68, 69, I think it was 68, yeah. Well, going on 69, so I know it was cold. So he said, let's go down to the club and, we're going to meet some people. I said, okay, going, 16-year-old kid going to the city doing that, and plus I had to be in school the next day. But there they were when we entered the door, and it was Jimi Hendrix, who just split up basically the Experience, started a new band with Buddy Miles and bass player Buddy Cox, who he was friends with in the parachuters, part of the military. And they formed a band called the Band of Gypsies, and they were going to play the Fillmore to bring in the new year in 69, 70. So they just, kind of started rehearsing and playing and, doing things and getting tight, etc. So Jim Morrison was a little bloated. I remember him drinking whiskey, and, it's what it looked like to me. And, he seemed to be having fun, a little loaded, but, hey, some people get that way. That's what they want to do. That's their business. And Buddy Miles invited me into the bathroom with him to do some, and to do some blow. I didn't want it because I didn't know what the hell it was, and I was kind of young, and I knew it was time for me to get home, because if I didn't, I would have been kind of like reprimanded by my father. So
right.
I had to get home and hopefully get to bed without him seeing me.
What a great, dude. You gotta, and then it was kind of cool. You mentioned Dust. Dust got you some other really interesting encounters along the way, including Alice Cooper, Uriah Heep, John Mayall, all on one bill.
Alice Cooper was the first, between him and the guy Arthur Brown were the first guys to me that I remember was really in rock, wore makeup like that. And then obviously Kiss came later, and other people with makeup on. So not only that, he had great songs, and I thought he was a really good singer. And the band was great, and it was a privilege to play with them, where they were playing in the Midwest, where Dust was very big, and we were happy to share the bill with them,
You got to do some really cool stuff, too, with that other band, Estes, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
B.B. King and Aerosmith? Man.
Estes, ESTUS. That was right after Dust. We broke up after the second album and realized... it was time to do different things. Our manager really didn't know what to do with us, who to pair us with, because there really wasn't any heavy bands at the time in 71, 72 in America to pair us with. There was no metal there in 1970s, 69 at all. You had Blue Cheer and maybe Mountain, if you consider Mountain heavy metal.
Right.
I mean, if you really think about it, what was really there? That's why, I guess, from where we came from, Brooklyn, New York, which is equivalent to, Liverpool in England, it was a very tough borough of New York City. So I guess we channeled all that into the music, and that was the result. And then after two albums, we split up, and we were still naive and young. And my guitar player went on to produce the first two Kiss albums. The bass player is in demand then and still is a session and touring bass player. So I just started hanging out in New York City. I met a band. They wanted me to play with them. And Andrew Oldham, the Rolling Stones producer from 62 to 67, who produced Satisfaction, Get Off of My Cloud, Tell Me Time Is On My Side, all that stuff. And he was the producer, and that's why I did it, because, he's a Stones producer. Obviously, he knows what he's doing, and I was really grateful to have been asked to join that band for that particular album for Columbia Records, and we recorded in New York City, and Andrew lived in Connecticut and in the 50s, and it was just a pleasure to talk to him and see how he worked. And I didn't want to move to the Midwest. I have nothing against the Midwest. I think it's a very cool, relaxing place compared to where I live. But I wasn't going to move there, and that's where they came from. And we had a really nice place upstate, and that's how far I was going to go from the city. So I left, and I started hanging in the New York scene, and CBGB's started in '74, and that was home.
And it led to the first audition with the Ramones, brief and successful, but must have really given you a lot of strength. There were early rehearsals, mainly Johnny, Dee Dee, and you, sometimes Joey. If you can, talk about how their personalities differed and some stories about your first impressions.
Well, they all knew me from playing in Dust. They used to come down to the shows in the city when we would play. So later on, they told me that, and I really I felt that was a really cool thing, you know. So then we talked more about music, and eventually all of us had a camaraderie, and with all the other bands too that were there at CBGB's. But I got to know Dee Dee very well, and occasionally sing Joey and Johnny and Tommy. But Tommy, after 3.5 years, wanted to leave, produce. He had enough. So he told Dee Dee if he saw me at CBGB's to ask me if I would join the band. And that's when John and Dee Dee and Joey wanted me to come down to a rehearsal for 3 songs. And I did. It was fine. We all knew in advance I was the guy to be there, but it would just look good to have other people there too. I mean, why not? You know what I mean? So it worked out, and that was the start of it. And the first song I recorded with them was "I Want to Be Sedated."
It's just, it's so epic, dude. How long did the assigned seats last in the tour van?
Once we all agreed to the assignment, we definitely stuck to the agreement. We got used to our space, and that was it.
Is that Johnny's thing?
Well, it was basically how we all felt comfortably. I'm sure if Dee Dee wanted to sit in the captain's chair in the front next to Monty, where he couldn't spread out, and just keep watching the road, I'm sure John would have accepted that. So I guess it really went to a point where what you could stand. So everybody was happy in their own space, and that's how it lasted for me. Just talking for me for 15 years, and that's how that was the book is the result of the closeness, the friendship, the bickering, the eventual unwanted, ridiculous, petty, how do you say, idiosyncrasies of the group. And we all dealt with it. And unfortunately, Joey and Johnny never really hit it off. Some people don't. That's life in sports, in business, in any kind of business. There's always some kind of office politics. So it's nothing new. It's up to the individuals, how they get along. Everyone's different. Quirks turn into big issues, and they're never really discussed or debated or anything, and they just seem to fester. And that was the problem with those two. But I think that if we were all alike, it might have not really made the music that well. It would have been just very bland. So I think the differences of personalities, the music speaks for that.
Joining the band not long after that, Rock and Roll High School, seminal movie gets filmed. You're there. You just must be pretty impressive. You arrive in this gig, they're doing stuff like that. If you can describe what that was like in terms of both working on the film and looking back at your memories.
Well, after joining the band, it was six months, 7 months later, we're doing a movie. I mean, we already toured Europe, toured parts of America. We're doing things in Canada, and then we're in a movie. So it was very good to be in that, because it brought a lot of curiosity seekers, who became fans, and that was a feather in our hat, because we needed it at that point. They already did their 3-chord albums. They needed an album that was a little different and just showed a little more of what they could do and show a little more influences. And the first 3 albums are great, but they knew they had to do a little more this time, especially on their 4th album, which I was very happy to be involved with. But that was the result. When you listen to that album, you hear all the really great tones and the grooves of the songs and the different influences, even like a country kind of punk feel. It's really hard. A British invasion in punk feel. There's a lot of different genres of music that intertwine throughout the song itself.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There's a lot of nuance to the Ramones that people on the outside may not realize is there. It also sounded like Phil Spector spent a lot of time around the Rock and Roll High School set and around you guys at that time.
Yeah, he did. When we played live, he was there, watching us, observing. That was his job, and he wanted to produce us. So we were always fans of Phil Spector's, like millions of other people, and to have him show his interest, we were very happy that somebody like that would be on board wanting to produce us. So it was an experiment. It worked in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways it didn't. But we later on appreciated Phil's production and understood what he was trying to do. In the beginning, we just felt it was so different that at some points it was a little hard to accept. So did a lot of the punk purists. But years ago, as I was looking back, as you usually do, what you've done and did and what you're going to do, hopefully, you realize that what his intention was to put 2 walls of sound together and see how they came out. And the strings and the horns and the percussion and piano and the organ and everything, it's just so rock, that album. So I don't mean that in a cliche, over-the-top, cheesy, heavy metal band. I'm saying it in a way, the way if the Ramones went back to the 50s,
right,
with their Marshalls, with the big drum set, with the lyrical content, and fused it, what was going on then with doo-wop, the beginning of surf sounds, just the greats like Little Richard, Chuck Berry, eventually the girl groups, the Shirelles, the bands like that, and you throw that up in the air, and that's what End of the Century is. The Ramones back in time, integrating with that kind of music back then.
Best Phil story? Maybe him waving a firearm around, maybe hanging with Grandpa Al Lewis from the Munsters at his house. What comes to mind?
Well, Phil never pointed a gun at anybody. He had them. He had 2 of them. He had a license, and he usually would put them down, and so what? He was, some people were intimidated. I saw a lot in that in Brooklyn. But he never intended to threaten or point the gun at anybody. He did with a few other people, but not with us. And I wanted to quell that rumor. And unfortunately, it busts a lot of bubbles. But the truth is the truth, and that's why I had to write this book. And yes, getting back to Phil's guns, he would sometimes hang them up, sometimes put them on the side of the soundboard. But, it didn't mean he was there to intimidate us.
Right.
That's just the way he was, and so what? That's his, we were there to make an album.
It's a paperweight. People have different kinds of paperweights.
Right. I am a person who deplores violence, and I'll be the first one to say it. And I totally disagree and don't like the NRA. And I'm not afraid to say it, not ashamed to say it. It's enough already. With the gun violence, you see it every day on TV. And, I mean, when are we going to all wake up and realize that this is what's happening in our society and that we have to end it already? Yeah. Getting back to positive things, Road to Ruin was a lot of fun to make, and then getting back to the movie. Phil Spector would observe us, and we worked our way towards the West Coast to start working on Under the Century, and that was it. He took about 5 to 6 months to make that album. There was a lot of overdubs, obviously, as what was proven by the album's music, and then there was the mixing. When you're mixing 20, 25 instruments, it's time consuming. Sure. And then you have to master it, and then you have to have the color artwork and the inside artwork, the back of the artwork, and just so many things, especially with that album. We were used to making, I did one album and I guess the Rock and Roll High School soundtrack before that one. But and I mean with Tommy also, they were making an album 3 weeks. 3.5 weeks to make an album. And then Phil's work ethic might have pissed off Johnny and Dee Dee a bit. But me and Joey always had a good time with him. I did too after the band broke up until he unfortunately went away.
And that's another aspect of it is you just mentioned it. You got to spend some time with them later in life. You stayed with the Ramones till the very end. And Joey is the only guy I ever met. He was very sweet. Met him in Boston at WBCN. And I guess I just want to hear your favorite, most endearing Joey story, or something that when you think of it, it just reminds you of the great spirit that he had.
Let's see. Well, he had cancer, as we all know. He was making a solo album. He always wanted to make a solo album, which I can understand. And he always liked the way I played. And obviously, he could have gotten anyone to play on it. So he asked me to do it. I couldn't do the whole thing, because at that point, I had my own band, just to test the waters to see what I could do solo-wise. But getting back to Joey, it was a lot of fun to make the album, his album, and we had to take him out of the hospital and then bring him to the studio to bring him back to the hospital. So the thing about Joey, he was at his happiest at that moment, but already stricken with lymphoma. So that was one of the happier moments of remembering his dream come true. And then other times, of course, but that was, maybe it was because the last time I was with him at a long stretch of a time period. But that was great to see come true.
Yeah, and it's tough at the end of the book. It gets emotional as a fan, especially how it works out at the end of his life and the lack of contact between him and Johnny. Johnny not being into doing that. And
no.
I guess the other thing about it was after reading your book, I started watching all these interviews on YouTube with all of you guys, but I was really impressed by John in the interviews. I just was like, wow, this dude really was on top of things. Anything in particular about him as you eulogize or remember him for who he was?
Well, he was a great rhythm guitar player who knew how to downstroke and create all the sound that he's known for. He created a guitar style, and that in alone is enough. I didn't necessarily agree with his politics, but that's what I remember about him, and we both had a lot in common concerning collecting sci-fi posters from the 50s and 50s sci-fi tin toys of the movies and robots and and all those things. So we were opposite politically, but there were a lot of the things that we both liked. And John was an extremely right-wing conservative guy,
I guess the opposite of Dee Dee in every single possible way. It seems.
Oh yeah, and myself and Joey. But hey, again, we're all different, and we have an opportunity to agree and disagree, and that's how it was, like a family, like a bunch of brothers, bandmates. Like any business, there's always some kind of disagreements and things.
When you going to get out here and do something in Hawaii, brother? We need you out here.
Well, I have relatives that live there. My wife's sisters live there. And,
where?
In Molokai.
Oh, wow.
And Oahu. And I will be there very shortly.
When are you coming?
So, well, I don't usually say anything until it's definite.
Okay.
But I would say sometimes in the later winter.
You think I could reach out to Chip and maybe I'll have you come by the studio, do a thing for you?
Yeah, definitely.
I would love that. I'll take really good care.
Yeah,
we're in Honolulu.
Would. Maybe I would try to surf with the background music of Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys, and obviously fall off the surfboard. But it would probably be a lot of fun to try to do.
I think that's awesome. Well, if you don't mind, I'll reach out to Chip and put the bug in his ear.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Because we're here in Honolulu. I'm assuming you'll be here.
Hi, everybody. This is Marky Ramone, and I meant to say aloha. And you're listening to David on the... What show is it?
It's Dave Lawrence and All Things Considered.
Oh, that's all. There's no numbers or anything?
And you don't need any numbers. All you do is, it's aloha. It's Marky Ramone. You listen to my good friend Dave Lawrence on Hawaii Public Radio.
Oh, boy. Okay, you know what? Give me 1 second, all right?
Okay.
I'll make it much easier for both of us. 1 second. Okay, now, if you can you repeat that?
Sure. Aloha. It's Marky Ramone.
Aloha. This is Marky Ramone.
And you're tuned to my good friend Dave Lawrence.
You tuned into my friend...
Dave Lawrence.
Dave Lawrence.
On Hawaii Public Radio.
On Hawaii Public Radio.
And All Things Considered.
On All Things Considered.
You got it, brother.
All right, you'll probably get this in one take. All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. Aloha. Let's put my name there. I'll do it again. All right, I'm going to take this in one take again. Okay. Aloha. This is an interview with yours truly, Marky Ramone, from my friend Dave Lawrence from Hawaii Public Radio. A little better the next time, right?
No, it sounded good. That sounded good.
No, it's got to be better than that.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. All right. You ready?
You got it.
Aloha, this is Marky Ramone, and you're listening to my friend Dave Lawrence on Hawaii Public Radio, All Things Considered.
God bless you. Listen to you. I can't wait to have you out here, and you better get over here. I'm going to get in touch with Chip since you got family out here, cousin. We got to hang.
Definitely do. Yeah, I'm Uncle Marky.
Uncle Marky and Auntie, whatever. I get it, too.
You all right?
You got the local connects, dude. That's super cool.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I'll look forward to seeing you. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you.